Everyone talks about the bosses and Shelbys, but in the shadow of Mustang legends, Ford built another breed. Torinos, so rare, so under the radar, they vanished from collector conversations. No press coverage, no tribute posters, just ghost cars. Built in double digits, some as prototypes, others as regional specials. These weren't flukes, they were factory freaks that slipped through the cracks. Until now. Ford's Torino lineup was never meant to be subtle. Born for NASCAR and bred for street dominance, these cars roared through the late 60s and early 70s with big blocks and fastback fury. But behind the headline-grabbing Cobras and Talladegas were secret weapons, unlimited run builds, oddball prototypes, police packages, and drag pack monsters that few collectors even know existed. Some were never advertised. Some were regional only, and some were never meant for the public at all. In this episode of Muscle Cars Revolution, we're digging deep into Ford's forgotten vault to reveal the 8 rarest Torinos no one ever talks about today. Top 1. 1970 Ford Torino King Cobra prototype. It was never meant for your driveway. The 1970 Torino King Cobra was Ford's moonshot, designed to crush Dodge on the oval, not sit in a showroom. Built in secret, banned before it could race, and buried for decades, it's now the rarest, most bizarre Torino ever made, and you've probably never even seen it. In late 1969, Ford was desperate to match the Dodge Charger Daytona and Plymouth Superbird on NASCAR superspeedways. The solution? The King Cobra, an experimental aero coupe that stretched the Tornado's front end into a wind-slicing spear. A shovel-nosed fiberglass fascia, hidden headlights, flush grille, and sloped hood made it nearly unrecognizable from the standard model. Only 3 prototypes were built. One came with a Boss 429, another with a 429 CJ, and a third with a standard 429 CJ. The car wore grabber orange, with blackout hood graphics, styled steel wheels, and race-to-like suspension. Inside it was stripped, black vinyl buckets, 4-speed floor shifter, no frills. It wasn't about luxury. It was built to win at 200 miles per hour. The Boss's 429 engine, rated at 375 horsepower, pushed well over 500 horsepower in race trim. Paired with a top-loader 4-speed and 3.91 rear gears, the King Cobra could hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.3 seconds. Insane for a full-sized coupe. But just as Ford prepped for homologation, NASCAR rewrote the rulebook. No more aero cars unless 3,000 units were built. Ford pulled the plug immediately. The King Cobra never raced, never sold, and never got a chance to prove itself. 2 prototypes disappeared, 1 survived, and was restored decades later. In 2010, it sold at Mecum for $550,000, making it the most expensive Torino ever sold. Its ghost still haunts the memory of what could have been Ford's greatest oval warrior. But just before the King Cobra faded into the shadows, Ford unleashed another rare beast, this time in Kansas. It had tornado decals, factory muscle, and a limited run so small only the locals knew it existed. Up to 1970, Torino Twister Special, Cobra version. It looked like just another grabber orange Torino Cobra, until you spotted the storm swirling across its rear quarter. This wasn't a graphics package. It was a warning. The 1970 Torino Twister Special was a factory-built beast, unleashed only in Tornado Alley, then almost completely forgotten. In November 1969, the Kansas City Sales District made a bold move. Ford's local dealers wanted to stir up excitement, so they commissioned a regional run of special-order muscle cars. The result was the Twister Special Program, a split batch of 90 cars including 48 Torino Cobras and 42 Mach 1 Mustangs, all painted grabber orange and shipped with exclusive Twister Special decals. These weren't dealer dress-ups. Ford assembled them with Cobra Sports roof bodies, blackout hoods, Ram Air shaker scoops, racing suspension, and performance cooling. The Torinos received styled steel wheels, dual sport mirrors, and a menacing stance. Inside, buyers got black vinyl high-back bucket seats, optional console, 140 miles per hour speedo, and minimal comfort options. This was raw Detroit steel, built for speed, not softness. Power came from the mighty 429 Cobra jet, rated at 370 horsepower, paired to either a 4-speed top-loader or C6 automatic. Many were ordered with the drag pack, which added 3.91 or 4.3 rear gears, oil cooler, and solid lifter valvetrain if paired with a CJ. These cars could launch from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds, with quarter miles in the low 13s, factory street brawlers with hurricane force torque. Despite their rarity and performance, twister Cobras remained regional ghosts, overshadowed by Mustangs and forgotten in national press. But today, collectors hunt them down, chasing Marty reports and original VINs. When one surfaces at auction, values regularly break the $100,000 mark, especially with documentation and original paint. But for those who thought the twister was extreme, there was a Torino with one letter X. That meant war. It hid the rarest drag pack combo, and a code only the bold dared order. Top 3. 1970, Torino GT 429 SCJ drag pack, W code. No stripes, no wing, no fanfare, just a plain Torino GT and a quiet W in the VIN, until the light turns green. The 1970 Torino GT 429 Super Cobra jet with drag pack wasn't designed to get noticed. It was built to disappear, down the quarter mile in 12 seconds flat. In 1970, if you walked into a Ford dealership and knew exactly what to ask for, you could unlock something sinister. The W code. Hidden inside the order sheet, this configuration gave you a 429 Super Cobra jet, forged internals, solid lifters, and the legendary drag pack. You couldn't get it unless you paired the 429 CJ with 3.91 or 4.3 rear gears and an external oil cooler. That's when the magic happened. The W code was born. Fewer than 150 W code Torino GTs are believed to have been built. Most came with Magnum 500 wheels, blackout hood treatment, and the optional Ram Air scoop. But to the average eye, it looked like just another GT fastback. Inside you got black vinyl buckets, an 8,000 RPM tatch, floor mount shifter, and the faint scent of race fuel waiting to ignite. The 429 SCJ was officially rated at 375 horsepower, but real dyno pulls landed closer to 460 plus horsepower. With a close ratio 4-speed, heavy-duty clutch, and Detroit locker differential, it went from 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds and tore through the quarter in the high 12s. It was NHRA superstock capability in a car with plates. Ford never advertised it, no brochures highlighted it, most dealerships had no idea what a W code meant. Today, that obscurity is gold. When one of these unicorns shows up at auction with matching numbers and Marty report, bidding climbs past $130,000 and fast. But while the W code was all about brute force, the next Torino on the list leaned into refinement. Same platform, same big block family, but wrapped in 1971 sheet metal and whispered, then roared. Top 4. 1971 Ford Torino GT 429 CJ Ram Air. It didn't wear outrageous graphics or drag slicks, just a low-slung fastback body, discreet Cobra jet lettering, and a hood scoop that wasn't just for show. The 1971 Torino GT4 and 29 CJ Ram Air didn't need to shout, it inhaled the road and vanished into legend. As emissions rules tightened and insurance premiums soared, 1971 marked a turning point. But Ford still had one last shot to fire. The Torino GT received a full-body redesign, sleeker, lower, and more refined. It looked almost European, with a wide-mouth grille, Coke bottle hips, and subtle fastback lines. But the muscle hadn't disappeared, not yet. If you knew what to ask for, you could spec the Torino GT with the 429 Cobra Jet V8, Ram Air induction, and a 4-speed manual. This combo wasn't widely advertised, and production numbers show it. Fewer than 300 examples are believed to exist, with GT trim, CJ, Ram Air, 4-speed, and the correct axle. Inside, it walked a line between Brute and Boulevard. High-back bucket seats, rally pack gauges, center console with Hurst shifter, and performance lighting made the cabin feel tight and serious. Suspension was competition-tuned, and disc brakes up front kept things civil. Until you floored it. The 429 CJ made a brutal 370 horsepower, but more impressive was its 450 pound-feet of torque. Add Ram Air and response was instant. The functional scoop, channeled cold air directly into the carb under full throttle. Test results clocked 0 to 60 miles per hour in 5.9 seconds and quarter mile in 13.9, nearly matching lighter Cudas and GTOs, without the noise or flash. These cars flew under the radar. Most were daily driven, then junked. Survivors are rare, especially with matching drivetrains and MARTI verification. One fully documented Ram Air GT crossed the block at $95,000, and collectors are still hunting. But if the GT Ram Air was the muscle car in disguise, the next Torino dropped all pretense of subtlety. Chrome-trimmed, luxury-badged, but still packing big block fury where it mattered most. Top 5. 1970 Ford Torino Brougham 429 Thunderjet. It had vinyl roof trim, opera windows, and bench seats. But under the hood, it carried a big block that could bury small block Chevelles. The 1970 Torino Brougham 429 Thunderjet was Ford's velvet-wrapped wrecking ball, built for quiet torque and unspoken street dominance. While most muscle machines flaunted spoilers and scoops, the Brougham played a different game. This was the top-tier luxury trim in the Torino lineup, usually reserved for family men or executives who'd never see a drag strip, but check the right box and you got something else entirely. That something was the 429 Thunderjet V8, a brute borrowed from the Galaxy and LTE lines. Rated at 360 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, it wasn't meant for finesse. It was raw force disguised in plush velour. Paired with a C6 automatic transmission and optional 3.25 traction-lock rear end, this Brougham could tow, cruise, or blow your doors off. Your call. Ford produced fewer than 1,500 units of the Torino Brougham equipped with the 429 Thunderjet in 1970, making it one of the rarest full-size sleepers in the Ford lineup. Inside was classic comfort, full-width bench seats, faux wood grain trim, clock, air conditioning, and AM/FM stereo. Outside? Chrome everywhere. Grille, drip rails, rocker moldings, and a padded vinyl top that whispered retirement home, not street war. The Thunderjet didn't scream off the line. It surged, quietly, relentlessly, a proper sleeper. While lighter Mustangs chirped tires, this thing pulled clean through all 3 gears, doing 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, surprising every road runner next to it at the light. Collectors long overlooked it. No Cobra script, no stripes, but as rare options surfaced, Broughams with Thunderjet, factory AC, and low miles, prices began climbing. A pristine example with MARTI report documentation brought $6,500 at auction, reintroducing the world to Ford's forgotten executive brute. And while the Brougham blended muscle with manners, the next Torino threw away the tuxedo and built its entire shape around winning one thing: wind. Top 6. 1969 Ford Torino Talladega 428 Cobra Jet. What if I told you the most aerodynamic Ford of the 60s wasn't a Mustang nor a GT40, but a bizarre, stretched Torino with a NASCAR soul and a name borrowed from Alabama's deadliest speedway? To beat Dodge at their own game in 1969, Ford needed a car that could slice through air like a missile, so they took the regular Torino fastback, added a stretched and rounded front end using a modified Galaxy bumper, dropped the rocker panels for lower ground clearance, and called it the Talladega. It wasn't designed to look good. It was built to win. Ford produced exactly 754 Talladegas for homologation. They came in only 3 colors: presidential blue, Wimbledon white, and candy apple red. Under the hood lived the 428 Cobra Jet Ram Air, rated at 335 horsepower, but believed to push far beyond 400 horsepower. Backed by a C6 automatic, 3.25 rear axle, and reinforced suspension, it was pure stock car tech disguised as a family coupe X. Inside, the car was bare bones: column shifter, vinyl bench seats, and no performance flash. But it didn't need any. It spoke loudest at 130+ miles per hour on superspeedways. Despite being a homologation monster, the Talladega was a marketing orphan. Many dealers didn't even understand what it was. There was no Cobra badging, no stripes, just a blunt, stretched nose and a VIN that screamed NASCAR. Decades later, collectors started waking up. Surviving CJ-powered Talladegas with proper paperwork have brought $90,000 and $120,000 at Barrett Jackson and Mecum. But try finding one. Most were beaten on tracks or rotted in fields, making clean examples absurdly rare. But before the Talladega ruled NASCAR speedways, another Torino, open-roofed and ceremonial, stole the spotlight at the very heart. Top 7, 1968, Torino GT Convertible Indy 500 pace car. Most Torinos earned their stripes at drag strips or NASCAR ovals, but one rare convertible took center stage at the greatest spectacle in racing, the 1968 Indianapolis 500. It wasn't just any Ford. It was a Torino GT pace car, one of the rarest drop-top muscle cars ever built. To commemorate Ford's role as the official pace car supplier for the 1968 Indy 500, the automaker produced a small run of special edition Torino GT convertibles, all finished in Wimbledon white with bright red side stripes. Pace car door decals, deluxe full-wheel covers, and matching white convertible tops, they exuded clean, patriotic flair. Inside, drivers got a premium treatment: black vinyl bucket seats, center console, wood-grain dash inserts, power convertible top, and even the factory Stereosonic 8-track tape player. Under the hood, the muscle was real. Most were fitted with the 390 cu in FE V8, rated at 335 horsepower and 427 pound-feet of torque, paired with either a C6 automatic or optional 4-speed manual. Some received air conditioning and power steering, making them capable boulevard cruisers with quarter-mile attitude. Although Ford produced 709 replica pace cars, it's believed only 150-160 were actual factory-authorized Indy 500 editions, with documentation being the only way to verify legitimacy. Many were simply dealer-ordered Torino GT convertibles dressed to look like pace cars. Because of this ambiguity, verified examples now command a premium. At auction, clean, factory-documented pace cars have reached $70,000 to $95,000, while lookalikes trail far behind. Their legacy is half myth, half machine. But while this convertible was pacing laps at Indy, another Torino was flying down illegal quarter-mile stretches, armed with a secret weapon and ready to blur every legal line in the book. Top 8, 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport, VIN-code 422 versus V8. By 1972, the muscle car era was gasping for air, choked by emissions laws and insurance hikes. But deep inside Ford's midsize lineup, one last big block beast refused to go quietly: the Gran Torino Sport VIN-code 429. It wasn't built to flex on billboards, it was built to survive extinction. The redesigned 72 Torino adopted a bold new aesthetic: wide, low, and unmistakable. Its split fishmouth grille and sweeping sport roof profile gave it an almost jet-age presence, but under the skin, most variants were tame. Inline 6s and 322s kept things docile, except for one secret code outlier: the VIN-code 429. This 429 cubic inch 4-barrel V8 was part of the 385 series big block family. It produced 205 net horsepower and over 320 pound-feet of torque, underrated by early 70s standards. Paired with the heavy-duty C6 automatic, dual exhausts, 9-inch rear end, and GT suspension, it was a cruiser with dragstrip DNA. Optional front disc brakes and a sport-tuned sway bar package completed the sleeper spec. Inside, the VIN-code Sport offered plush, high-back bucket seats, wood grain accents, and the Rally instrument cluster with tachometer, often overlooked but essential for serious drivers. The interior trim matched the sport roof's flash, but the real thrill was under your right foot. Ford barely promoted the VIN-code variant. There were no flashy ads, no brochures screaming "big block." That's why production stayed whisper low, believed to be fewer than 400 units, making it rarer than some Cobra jet fastbacks. Surviving examples are unicorns. Most were daily driven into the ground or stripped for drag parts, but the few that remain have crossed auction blocks at $50,000, $70,000, and climbing fast as collectors realize what they missed. The 1972 Gran Torino Sport with the VIN-code 429 didn't go out with a roar, it vanished with a whisper. And that silence, it's exactly what makes it so dangerously collectible today, one of Ford's best-kept secrets, until now. Some of these Torinos barely made it off the line. Others disappeared into dusty barns, auction blocks, or quiet private collections. But together, they represent a lost language of Ford engineering, one where muscle met mystery. If you've made it this far, you're not just a muscle car fan, you're a rare breed chaser. So hit that subscribe button, drop us a comment with your favorite forgotten freak, and let us know which rarity you'd park in your dream garage. More deep cuts, drag monsters, and factory oddities coming soon right here on Muscle Cars Revolution. Stay loud. Stay rare.